So I'm doing scenario B, and the situation at hand is that we have students adding a fraction that is a half with a fraction that is a third, and the resulting answer which they're giving to us is 2/5. Now the logic which I believe they're following is that they're adding the two numerators to give the answer 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's the answer numerator they gave, 2/5. And they're also adding denominators, which is 2 plus 3, to give the resultant denominator of 5. So the answer they're given is 2/5. Now, obviously, logically, the addition that they've done there is correct. However, they're clearly failing to understand the laws of fractions, particularly in addition of fractions. So, firstly, I don't think they're aware of the fact that they don't, in any circumstance, ever add denominators. So that would need to be made clear to them. Secondly, I don't think they're aware that we don't add numerators until the fractions have the same denominator. And that would entail then explaining how we get the same denominator, and they'd need to know how to find the lowest common multiple between the two fractions. And that's ultimately what's going wrong there. They're not aware of them two rules, and therefore they're just adding the two numerators and they're adding the two denominators and expecting to get the right answer. And in fact, what may seem logical to them obviously isn't bringing in the rules of fractions. So moving on to part 2 then, what we have is, I'm going to use the example of 3 chocolate bars. The first chocolate bar is going to be split into 3 as the third, and the second chocolate bar is going to be split into a half, and they're giving me a third and they're giving me a half, and funnily enough, the answer which they're giving me is they're giving me a fifth. And if we visualize 2/5 of a chocolate bar split into 5, and if we visualize that, it seems that if we added that third and we added the half, why would we suddenly be losing chocolate and getting to that 2/5? It seems that someone's shortchanging me. Either that or there's a mistake in what we're learning or what we understand. So the first mistake I think people are making is that you need to know that you never add denominators. Doesn't matter what, you never add them. Denominators are the bottom number. Secondly, you only add the numerator, the top number. You only add the numerator when the denominators are the same number. So if we remember the denominators we had, 2 and 3, they are different. So we can't yet add the numerators. How do we get those denominators to be the same? Well, we look for the lowest common multiple. And the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3 is in fact 6. So we make the denominator 6. So we've got 6 there and 6 there, and we're adding them, okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is figure out what, in terms of a sixth, half is. How do we translate half into a sixth? Well, half of 6 is in fact 3. So we've got 3/6. What do we think? How do we translate a third into a sixth? Well, 6 divided by 3 is in fact 2. So now we're in a position where we've got the equivalent half fraction, the equivalent third fraction. We can add them now because the denominators are the same. 3 plus 2 is 5. And the answer we get is 5/6. And that is the correct answer. Excuse the terrible handwriting.